Hello, I'm Ashley Bennett, and I am a Sigma architect at Aimpoint Digital. Today, I'm going to walk you through the solution for week 5 of this year's Workout Wednesday for Sigma. This week, we're going to play with some new features available in Sigma, single row containers, and value lists. Let's get started. First, I'm going to pull in my base data, and I want to go to the connections, Sigma sample database. Under retail, plugs electronics, I can find my hands-on lab data. And I'm going to give this a more user-friendly name. Base data is good. And now I also want to create a segmented control. I'm going to give this a control ID of CTRL, most profitable. The CTRL will help me determine later in the formula bar what is a control versus a column. It's just a little bit easier that way. And then I want a more user-friendly label, so I'm going to call this show the most profitable. And then under my values, I want to add products, stores, and customers. Okay, we don't need any targets for this. And now I'm ready to go back to my base table. I am going to add another column here. I'm going to use Shift Plus as one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts. And I'm going to call this customer key dash name. And I want to basically combine that customer key and customer name to make a more unique key. And this will make it easier for our filtering later. Now, I also want to create a selected grouping column. I'm going to add a new column. I'm going to call this selected grouping. And then I'm going to use a simple switch column to switch between, or to select the grouping that are control selects. So when products is selected, it will say the product name as opposed to stores and customers. Now I want to group by this grouping. I'm going to use Shift G as a keyboard shortcut to do that. And then I am going to add a calculation to show the profit at that grouping level. And we're going to call this grouped profit. And now I also want to filter this to show the top 10 of our grouped profits. So now we should have the top 10 grouped profits. If we collapse, we can see just 10 rows. Excellent. I'm going to keep them open though, so we have access to all this data more easily. And finally, let's also extract some information from this cust.json. And I'm going to right click on it and go to extract columns, and you can really choose whatever you like. In my case, I want to do the city, state, region, type, under loyalty and birthday. We're going to choose birthday and month. We want to see if they're in that loyalty program and what their loyalty tier is. All sounds great. Now let's confirm all of that. I'm going to give these a little bit better names. Let's see, customer city, customer state, customer region, type, is in loyalty program. I'm just going to call this in loyalty program, and then loyalty tier. I also want my in loyalty program to be a logical, so I'm going to convert this not to text, but to a number, and if it equals 1, it will be true. Excellent. Now, I want to create a series of single row containers. I would like my modals to show different things based on which grouping we have selected. So I'm going to create 3 single row container modals. And to do this, I'm going to hit this plus button, create a single row container. And I want to first select product, not type, product name. And then yes, that is fine. Sure. And then we can edit our modal. And now I'm going to call this product details. And in here, I would like to add a value list. This here. And then over here, I'm going to add, I want to add product name and product type, family, line, all the information that we could possibly want about our product. Let's do SKU. And then let's also go ahead and add grouped profit. We're going to call this our total product profit. And then let's add one more because this is product. Let's do a formula of some product details quantity to get a total quantity sold. And let's also format that as a whole number. Excellent. Now I also want to add in a chart. I would like a KPI chart. Make that a little bit smaller, turn things down. And I want my source to be my base data. And from here, I would like to add profit as my value. Timeline is month of date. We'll select that previous month. And then that looks good to me. We will filter this because currently it's unfiltered. The single row container is really good for those value lists, but does not yet filter charts like this. But we will fix that in a moment. I am now also going to go back to my data page, which I will call data. And I am going to do the same thing for my store name. That is what we used. Yes, store name. And I am going to create that single row container, store name, and open a modal. And basically do the same thing. Store name and store region. with my value list created, I want to add a new chart here. I am going to use a map point, and I want the source to be my base data. And I am going to select the store latitude and longitude. And then we will again filter this down in a bit. And then I'm going to also add the size as the metric profit. Okay. And then the last one that I want to put together is my customer. So I'm going to create another single row container on that customer key name and add an action. Oh no, yeah, I don't really care there, but it's helpful. Now I'm going to add my UI element as I have been doing. And let's add in customer name. Let's add in customer location, but customer name. And we need a formula. Hold on, let me rename this so that I can call this customer details. And now here we go. I'm going to use a formula. And because a customer could in theory have multiple locations, we're just going to list ag them together. And we're going to call this customer locations. Okay. Combining that city, state, and store region. And then I would also like to add in customer type, whether or not they're in that loyalty program, and then finally their loyalty tier. If they have one. Okay, and now I would like to add another chart. We're just going to add a KPI chart again. And I'm going to select the source as my base data. And in value, I'm going to select profit, timeline, date, month of date, previous month. Excellent. Now I am going to go back to my base data so that we can create filters for our charts. I am going to add in a new column. I'm going to use Shift Plus to create a new column, and I'm going to call this is selected product, and I want to reference the very hidden filter that Sigma creates for these single row containers, and it should be the table name of when I created that single row container, and then single row control is what it's called. And if I do that, I can see that is very clearly my product. So that one is. So I'm just going to do equals product name. Excellent. And then I want to create another one. So I'm going to Shift Plus again to do is selected store. And I'm going to do the next one should be our store, and it is. So equals store name. And then one more Shift Plus again for is selected customer, and this will be base data should be our last one. And then I want it to be equals that customer key name. Okay, and now I can go back to each of my modals and filter appropriately. So I'm going to, on our customer details, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut of Shift F and only select true. Store details. On our map, same thing, is selected store, Shift F, and I only want true values. This should take us right to that store. And then finally on product, on our KPI, I can go down and do a selected product, Shift F, and just do true values there as well. And now I am ready to create a visualization that users can interact with to get to our modals. And I'm going to go back to my base data. I'm going to plus, and I will create a chart. Bar chart is fine. I'm going to make it horizontal. I like to use those for top visualizations. And in my y-axis, I will choose my selected grouping. In my x-axis, I'm going to choose profit. And then I am going to, let's just go ahead and hide that title. I want to be sure that I have sorted my selected grouping by profit, so it is highest to lowest. Oh, and then the last thing that I want to do is add in that store region under color. And this is the reason why I have added the grouping at our base data level, because I want to be sure that I am getting the top 10 grouped profit at just that selected grouping level. When you add in a color on top of a top N, it can mess with how that works. So it's best to group your parent element first. And then, let's see, I would also like to add 3 different actions to my bar chart. I'm going to create conditional actions based on what is selected. And so I'm going to add in a custom formula, and I want the formula to be my control most profitable equals something. So when it equals products, I want to set the control value, and I would like to set set single row container. Thank you. I would like to set product details as the column selected grouping. And then the last thing that I need to do will be to open that product details modal. And from here, I can duplicate this, change this from products to stores, and change things appropriately. And then one last one on stores to customers, and let's set our selected grouping for customer details and open customer details. Now, when I click and open, excellent, let's click and open a different thing. Yep, something new, and stores should open Collins customers, Marvin Watt, excellent. Now I would like to arrange my final workbook. I'm going to move these 2 elements to a new page. I'm going to call this most profitable and hide my data page. And then I will, let's see, move things around a bit. I'm going to add in a title. And I like to use medium heading for my titles. I'm going to call this most profitable and use some dynamic text to reference my control. Excellent. And then I like to update my workbook theme. I am a dark mode kind of girl, and I will use something else. That looks great. Now I am ready to save as. I'm ready to save as. I will save as 2026 week 5 solution. And now that I have published, I can go to publish mode and we can do a little demo. We can see that when we click on things, it opens up our selected modal, and that is different based on which dimension we have selected. And there you have it.
Wasn't that easy? I'll see you next time for more Sigma challenges.